Welcome back to The Edge. We're covering ad transparency from Google Ads by the way of the About the Advertiser page. Google Ads are also now preferring phrase match or broad match keywords that are identical to a query, and TikTok and Instagram might get indexed by Google. You're listening to news from The Edge of the week, September 27th, 2021, here on Edge of the Web Radio.
From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
We're on the edge of the web. This is show, I don't remember what show it is. We're in the 452. We're coming into our 500th. Can we hit 500 by February? What do you think, Jacob?
I haven't done the math. Sure. We
Yeah,
can
we
do
could
whatever
just-
we want.
we
I'll
could,
just start
absolutely.
numbering them
We could
differently.
okay, I gotcha. We're doing leap shows now, all right?
Yes.
Gotcha. I'm your host, Erin Sparks from Site Strategic. Every week we bring you amazing guests to talk about digital marketing trending news items here on the show. We're covering the SEO and digital marketing news separate from our weekly interviews with thought leaders around the planet. Blessed to be able to talk to some top digital marketers and be able to learn from, as well as explore key topics in digital marketing. So check out all of our shows over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. This is the Site Strategic's digital marketing news desk of Edge of the Web. Joining me this week to get his take on everything is George Nguyen, editor at Search Engine Land and Third Door Media. George, how are you doing today, sir?
Hey there, Erin. Great to be here. I'm doing well, a little bit busy. We're in the midst of a lot of announcements from Google. I'm hoping to help you navigate it.
Absolutely. And we certainly do appreciate you jumping in here and taking over the seat where Mordy decided to flake off out again this week. I probably should not be really rubbing his nose in it because I think I took all of July off or something like that. But he's not here. You are. So let's make fun of him, okay?
Yeah, I would say big shoes to fill, but let's be honest, I'm here and I think we're all better for it.
I think you need, if you're going to actually channel your inner Morty, I think you need to kind of stoke up a little bit more honoriness, right? And
I'm not gonna channel my inner Morty. Something sports, something Patriots ball with the 9-yarder, and I don't know.
Exactly. See, we're more kindred spirits. Exactly.
Is Morty here? Oh, that was George. You got me, George.
Something.
Just like him.
It really did. And that is Jacob Mann behind the producer's desk, sir. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. It's Monday. What can I say?
It's Monday.
We did a
and
garage sale over the weekend. I'm exhausted. And we made enough money to buy a new garage door opener that we need for the now cleaned out garage for my wife to park in.
Got it. See, so it was a 360 type of environment there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sell all the crap so you can get more crap into your garage.
That's exactly what it was. Can't wait.
Alrighty. Well, talk about selling crap. George, let's jump into our first article over at Search Engine Land from Carolyn Lyndon. About This Advertiser initiative now includes advertisers' pages for Google Ads. As part of the company's Advertisers Transparency Initiative, Google Ads introduced their Advertiser Identity Verification Program, as well as their About This Ad information this past year. The new advertiser page program takes that transparency for searchers to a next level. Literally, you can actually see not only the advertiser that's representing the client's ads, right? And we're seeing that more and more. Not every advertiser has had to go through the verification process yet, but they're rolling that out systemically across the entire place. But you can also learn about advertisers and also report ad policy violations. That transparency, says Google, allows users to learn more about the company behind the specific ad. It also helps differentiate credible advertisers in the ecosystem while limiting the ability of bad actors to represent themselves. You can actually report on ad policy violations, and on top of that, see a history of advertiser info and other violations they have had in the past. Right, George?
Yes. Quick point of clarification on your wonderful segue there when you were talking about, speaking of selling crap, we're talking about the advertisers, not search engine.
Oh, God. Nobody would actually take that inference at all. No way. Absolutely. Search engine land is a boon to all of digital marketing kind. I would never, ever, especially for Carolyn, right? I mean, no, this was a great article expose on advertisers that may sell crap or do crap for their clients. Yes. Clarification noted.
Yes, this is not like something where you invited me on to entrap me.
No. So let's talk about the transparency here. This is new rollout from Google, and there's a lot of transparency in the ecosystem. Facebook as well is certainly getting verification and validation of advertisers, and you have to jump through a number of hoops, especially whenever you're advertising a number of different types of messages that are cause or employment related. So how long has this been around, George? This is pretty much a new rollout of this level of additional transparency on the advertiser side of things, correct?
So yeah, so the product itself, the about the advertiser little drop down has appeared in search results. You can click on the URL or like a little down icon next to the URL to learn more about any given ad. That's been out since about April of last year, or it was announced in April of last year during the early days of the pandemic. But this is an escalation of that, where they have this advertiser page. And with that, one of the key things is to see what the advertisers' ads over the last 30 days are. And it's interesting because if you are an advertiser that operates on, let's say, FOMO tactics, and then somebody looks at that and they're like, wow, this advertiser is really into that. Will people do that? I think people like me, digital marketers, are super into knowing what a company's strategy is, and it can tell you that. As Carolyn pointed out within the article, somebody could look at a competitor's ads over the last 30 days and say, hey, this breaks policy, we're going to report you. That's a very niche case, but you have to also consider who is looking at this information, who needs more transparency. Very often we don't question the ads that we see, except when they're particularly eyebrow raising, when there's very charged wording, something is very political. In that sense, I imagine the click-through or the usage rate for this feature will be much higher. And so advertisers, if you're using those kind of tactics, first of all, that's not always an appropriate tactic. So I want to get that out there. But if you are using that kind of tactic, you definitely want to see what the information is showing for your brand. And then, as we always recommend, experiment with things to see maybe you can try something else, or maybe if this isn't a good look for you, there's another way to go about your advertising so that this won't impact your conversions.
A couple additional, thank you for that elaboration. A couple other potential concerns. We're seeing this right now, more and more advertiser transparency coming to the front well before the 2022 elections. Are we going to be seeing a politically charged campaign? Absolutely. We've been seeing that for the last 8 years, right? But to be able to have advertisers fully disclosed, right, gives another level of concern for the advertisers themselves, because, as I should say, the agencies that they represent are putting forth messaging for their political clients. They are now actually a bit more in the crossfire of scrutinizing who's actually running these ads, and do they want to be aligned with some more politically charged and divisive type of terminology? Am I good at saying that particular point of view?
I haven't looked into specifically how this is going to be executed. I mean, the verification thing is happening for agencies, but when you're talking about an advertiser, these are going to be run through the advertiser's own account. So I imagine that, the brand itself will be under scrutiny here, unless Google actually disclosed. I don't imagine that being the case. Like, oh, this company uses this agency to run their advertising. It just seems like a huge breach in what you would be able to disclose. A lot of the clients so we have the Search Engine Land Awards coming up, and I'm in the midst of looking through all the nominations and going through the applications. And a lot of them are just saying, we work within a brand in this space, simply because they are not allowed to disclose more information beyond that. So I don't think Google's going to be doing that.
Now, I kind of jumped the shark there, because I am seeing advertiser verification inside of Facebook. So it's not only the agency verification, not only the advertiser verification. So we're starting to see a couple of those come through, and I was ascribing this as a potential path that Google could well follow. So maybe it's way too early to even contemplate that. But boy, what a hot mess is going to be inside of politics this year, because if you have the reporting of a violation process right in front of everybody, then there's going to be a continued battle just for the sheer fact of fending off erroneous ad policy violations that are submitted to Google as well. Yeah.
So the general trend of more transparency is something that when Google first started talking about, I felt like, okay, this is a good movement. And it's a nice little thing that they're starting here. And I kind of dismissed it. But over time, I think we've seen with the state of the world, transparency only has become more necessary.
Yes.
And especially in terms of protecting the user, there's misinformation. There's just so many reasons to increase transparency. And Google's set of concerns is much larger than who's competing for what in the top space of e-commerce or things like that. It goes so far beyond that to actually what is truth. And so on the paid side and on the organic side, they've been introducing features. They've been on the organic side, they've instituted, I think it was a penalty or something where online reputation sites that are essentially portals where people can say their experience with a company or with a person,
right,
and essentially, like, I think slander or libel. I don't forget which one is written, but they can just write these things and the companies will pay this platform to remove those comments. Those kind of sites are being demoted in the search results. And this is all part of one larger effort to increase transparency and make, I guess, Google search results and what the parts of the internet that you can actually find a more trustworthy place. So I would say that if you're not looking at what your reputation is online and what people are saying about you, it's time to do that, especially on more reputable places like Better Business Bureau and such.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said, sir. Keep an eye on that. And brands, if you are in the advertising space, which we hope everybody who's listening to this are, make sure that you can actually see your visibility and transparency on the About the Advertiser section as well. At least inventory what it looks like. It does have a particular history. There's nothing to be able to edit there. It's disclosed history from Google.
Yes, that's right. And also you could, I wouldn't say like go report your competitors or things like that.
Exactly.
But you can see how their last 30 days of advertising in a specific space looks compared to yours. And that should be enlightening as well.
Absolutely. All right. Something even more enlightening from search engine land by our very own George Nguyen right here. Google Ads, Facebook, and broad match keywords that are identical to a query are now preferred. So a phrase match or broad match keyword that is identical to the query is now always preferred as long as it is eligible to the match. Google actually announced on Thursday. So before going any further, unpack this for us, George, because it's very important for maybe individuals that are not inside paid ads on a regular basis to actually understand what's really important here between the phrase match and the broad match as it applies to the accuracy of the query. This is pretty substantial change, as I understand it, sir.
Yes, absolutely. So a while back, I think it was in February, Google announced the expansion of phrase match to include broad match modifier traffic. That's why we don't really talk about broad match modifier anymore, because it's a now deprecated thing. And we just call that the updated phrase match, or just phrase match if you're just totally newer to the space. And in that announcement, the company said that exact match keywords that are eligible to match and are identical to a query. So if I looked for, I don't know, marketing podcasts, right? And you had the exact match phrase marketing podcasts. That's actually a really terrible example. That's a really broad query. So what they're saying is that if you have a broad match keyword or a phrase match keyword that matches a query and it's identical to it, then those will be preferred over your other things that may also be eligible to match. There's a lot more going on here. So for example, I see that a lot of marketers who are reading the actual announcement have even just beef with Google's example of, one of the examples was a car part. It's like a 1995, like some sort of obscure part in a car. And they said, oh, if you had that now, and you had broad match, somebody searched that and you had a broad match term that just said automotive parts, that would be eligible to match. And so advertisers are upset about that because, how often is an advertiser going to have one very specific part that you're looking for? Right. And so how will Google Ads know that? If they don't know that, then you're just going to get charged if somebody clicks through on that. And so that's wasted ad spend. So that's one part of it. Another part of it is that the announcement says that with this, there's no need to add the same keyword across broad and phrase and exact match because broad match will capture it all with smart bidding. And advertisers are up in arms about that too, because it kind of destroys the nuance here, and it can also create a lot of wasted budget. So those are some of the big things, but there's also like way more opinions, and there's a lot of other nuance going on here. There's an entire chart that was, if we can bring up the article on there, we can scroll down to the chart. So Google says, this is what happens when you're looking at, when you have a query that's identical, and that's what we've gone through. But this chart breaks down what happens when you have a query that is not identical to any of the keywords that you have in your campaign. The thing to look out here for, and I suggest that if you're an advertiser, you have to look at this more deeply, but there's a possibility here. I'm trying to look for it here. Okay, so in the middle here, you have, if you have exact match or phrase match keywords that are deemed similar or less relevant than these broad match keywords, there is still a chance the exact or phrase match keyword will be selected if it has a higher ad rank, which means that it seems to convey that there's a greater possibility that the broad match is what will match for it.
Right.
And so that's not necessarily something that advertisers want. And that's part of the pushback here too.
And so one, if you look at a well-articulated campaign, would be honestly phrase match only. And I'm sure there's a heck of a lot of pushback I could get from that. Phrase match along with a dedicated ad and dedicated destination to that phrase match, to match your point about the auto part, as I want to be able to run out a 1965 Cadillac something or other part, and I want to be able to take that I want to be able to match to that query and take them to the specific destination of that particular part and get them as close to transaction as possible. Give them the exact information they're looking for. If you're getting pulled into that broad match, you're absolutely wasting space, and your inventory, like you said, may not match anything to the degree of what a broad match kind of gravity well could suck you in as. So advertisers, by and large, if they're strong in their PPC, have a very well-articulated campaign, but Google's kind of making the assessment that their broad match connection could very well surpass your exact match pairing. Is that what I'm reading into it?
That seems to be the case in certain examples. But the thing about the announcement, also, any company, not necessarily Google, but you have to pay attention to the wording, because it is at face value. Because and I can't confirm this, but I have to imagine this is part of the calculus. You have to word your press releases in a way that's defensible in court.
Got it.
So there's a lot of the word can here. So they give you statistics about better efficiency or increased ROI, what have you. They'll say in our test, an advertiser can achieve this.
Right.
But that means can, and they don't provide you with much more information than that. So you kind of have to take that as, well, it can happen, just like it can flood today, but is it likely to? And so the answer here is going to be really up to you, what you want to do as an advertiser. You have to think about testing it a lot. So there's a lot of advice here, as there always is in a press release, but you have to make sure that this is going to work out for you. I don't just blindly go into a change, because only you know the way your business and your audience works.
Absolutely. And pair this with an earlier announcement that we're now actually going to be seeing search impressions that did not result in a click, right? We now have something of an entire space of, okay, we got pulled into a broad match that gave us a lot of impressions. We could find ourselves with an opportunity there, but we could also find ourselves that our ads are being moved into spaces that we're not wanting to see. And we're now actually seeing, I think this actually, this is a pairing here that's pretty important, is even as Google's deciding whether or not the broad match is the best match for you, you now see a full volume of traffic that did click, didn't click, and you can now start seeing patterns of behavior of how Google's introducing your ad in that space. So now you have to have even more steerage, because the leading indicator is you could very well see yourself into a matching inside of impressions that you're seeing on that ad that you want to push back even earlier, because when it gets down to if you're pushing back when it results in the click, that's already money spent. But if you can actually start paying attention further and further to the impressions that you're getting based on the match, that you can actually steer and negatively filter against that. And that's what Google's actually wanting us to do, is pay more attention to where they're leading your ads, and they're giving us more transparency, more visibility. So kudos to them on this. This is a mixed bag of nuts on the pairing of broad match and phrase match here, but we do have to adamantly promote advertisers to look at their PPC in a whole nother space here. Things are changing. The terrain is changing so much right now. You got to be in this daily to be able to see what's changing so you can steer correctly. Boy, that was a rant and a half. But thank you for the article, and thank you for showcasing what we're really seeing here with this press release, George. I appreciate it. With that, we certainly are proud to have Site Strategics as our continued sponsor for Edge of the Web. We're pioneers in the agile digital marketing methodology, and our core specialties are technical SEO, content SEO, SEM, social media, as well as conversion rate optimization, results-based marketing. That works. So if you're interested in what we can do for you, give us a shout at 877-SEO for web or 877-736-4932. All right, so our last article of the week here. This is something pretty interesting over at Search Engine Journal by Matt Southern. Google is actually reportedly working on deals with Instagram and TikTok to index their video content in search results. Google's negotiating deals with Instagram and TikTok to index the search results. The information has early details of Google's talk with Facebook and ByteDance, parent companies of Instagram and TikTok. 3 people who were briefed about the discussions tell the information, that's the article where the original article came from, that deals are being worked on to get Google the data it needs to index and rank videos. The deal is said to be similar to the one formed between Google and Twitter in 2015, in which Google was granted access to a fire hose of tweet data for immediate indexing. All right, so George, bringing in on this, we've got indexing of Instagram and TikTok videos. Does that change the video content of the purveyors inside of Instagram and TikTok? If all of a sudden now we have much more indexable content, are we going to see these videos with a heck of a lot more content presentation on their videos? Are we going to be seeing this pulling in meta content of this? What do you think they're going to be indexing by and large here?
I don't think that we're going to see a huge shift in the way content creators do their thing, because, I mean, if you're a solid content creator, you're thinking about the format with which you're creating with, and there's a reason they've chosen social. So those formats are often just like way shorter, which means what are they suitable for? Quick updates, behind the scenes type stuff, promotion, definitely. Do you really want that stuff indexed? Maybe you do. Sure. I mean, what's the harm, right? But are you going to gain any meaningful traffic from it? What is this going to look like on the search results page? So, we've had the Twitter carousel at some point, or just like the tweets that are indexed for a long time now. And how often is that really a factor for brands? If you have no online presence as a brand, then yeah, your social media might show up first, or if your social media is a really big component, but individual tweets and posts, I really doubt that's going to be a thing. What is interesting here is, from an industry standpoint, this might expose more of Google's users, just searchers, to what is on those platforms. So you might get some cross-pollination. You might have more people signing up for TikTok or what have you. But you think about the user base of Instagram and TikTok, I'd say they're a good amount. Most of them are a good amount younger than that of Facebook or Twitter. And privacy controls are super important to them. So the question is, do they want, just does the general user want their content searchable? Do they want it indexed so that anyone can find it? A lot of people don't even use their own name. I'm not really sure how brands are going to approach this, because how many brands do you know have Instagram as a key part of their content marketing? I mean, it's very top of the funnel stuff, which can be useful, but you have other things there too. So I'm not really sure how it's going to play out for advertisers or for brands.
Yeah, it could be a new opportunity for some brands, but you're absolutely right, is that TikTok is its own space, not only different, a younger demographic, but you're right, it's very quick type of messaging, and there's not that level of permanence that you'd even expect to see in that space. So perhaps Google will be indexing something from a topical or trending space, but not something that is brand specific, that you have a TikTok video that was out there 6 months ago or something like that. It could very well be that they're mining content or they'll start indexing and representing content that is more of trending information around key concepts and again, topical key issues as opposed to brand issues, because who's actually in that space regularly? There's certainly going to be there's a different type of messaging strategy with a TikTok or an Instagram video than there is any other area of permanence of marketing. It won't really match up unless it's something that's trending and it's a hot topic.
I think that could be a use of it. What I really envision being a no-brainer is the search results page for individuals changing.
Got it.
Especially if those individuals are famous from the internet. Then if they're on those platforms, why not have everything there? So you can have everything that you need to know about a certain person. And maybe the person is the brand, right? For example, I'm just going to drop a name.
Go for it.
It's a controversial one. Sometimes in the industry, I'm not expressing any opinions myself, but Neil Patel is a brand in and of himself. And maybe that'll change the way his search results page looks. So that could be funneled into your brand marketing efforts if your brand is named after you, especially.
Sure.
He has his own agency, but that might be a way to establish trust. I mean, it could be very useful even from like a political standpoint. Right. You have candidates, you can just learn more about them in one place if they're on those platforms. But yeah, I other than that, I have trouble imagining any brand that's going to be like, oh, this is great news for us.
I think you're right. I think to channel my inner Jason Bernard, it comes out of brand SERP, right? This is a whole nother additional tile that will be there. You're absolutely right. This is Google's attempt to understand the entity side of things more and more, to be able to, I mean, the Twitter carousel is there for a reason. The brand SERP is getting more and more defined as different tiles of information. This could very well be another piece that pushes any organic down below the fold. You've got your Twitter carousel, you have your images, you've got your brand SERP on the knowledge panel on the right-hand side, you've got your TikTok and your Instagram and YouTube videos. There's the entire mum side of search for a particular brand. It could very well be that's their intent all along. But I would never try to deduce what Google does, truly.
I'm looking forward to see how this rolls out because, I mean, every update, we can say it doesn't really matter to marketers, but if it has an impact on the search results page, one way or another, it's going to impact the marketers. Mm-hmm. So you're totally right. It may push down other features. It may mean that you're scrolling way deeper to get to position 9 in the organic results. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. And I think we all should just embrace a TikTok, Instagram video campaign immediately, right?
I've got some dances for you to do, Erin.
You got
right after this show today. George, you want to join us? You guys could duet each other.
Literally.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Just want to try it out, man. All right. So, George, we do thank you for all this. We want to make sure that we mention what's going on in the Third Door Media and SEL world. What's going on right now? You're dealing with a lot of Google announcements, but what's upcoming for you guys?
Of course. So I would be remiss to not mention that our next conference, SMX Next, is occurring November 9th to 10th. And it's really important time of the year because not only is it Q4, but we're looking forward to 2022. And just like we did last year, we were talking about, oh, well, what's the next year of marketing going to look like, especially with the pandemic. And we're still asking, especially with the pandemic, what is that going to look like? But there have been so many changes that you need to know about or that you need to wrap your head around. And that's what SMX Next is for. We're looking forward into the future of marketing so that you can be there instead of playing catch up. If you remember the page experience update that came out earlier this year, that was all the talk last year. And people who positioned themselves got their all their lighthouse scores and things like that under control were probably feeling much more confident going into that. And that's what we're kind of seeking to provide. But other than that, Google's got an event called Search On, which is this Wednesday. And I'm looking forward to what they'll be speaking about. I mean, we have an idea because these events, although I feel like they're positioned in a way that's like, oh, consumers, it's a consumer event, but really it's like a B2B event or like with a consumer spin. And usually they announce their forward-thinking technology. I mean, during their event earlier this year, it was all about mum. So they've only done one thing with it so far. So it's been quiet. What else is happening next then? Right. And even then, it wasn't like the flashiest use of it. When they unveiled it, they said, okay, somebody might be wondering, can I use these boots to hike Mount Fuji? And you can take a picture and then you can find out. But we've not seen anything like that. All we've seen is one rollout where they're matching COVID names, which is arguably a much more important use of it, where you're matching COVID names across like the 800 or so words that people use in different languages to find those results. But that's not really what we were promised as marketers. I mean, it feels weird to say because health and safety first.
Absolutely.
But also, where's all that stuff you were talking about?
How do we practically use it? Yeah, you're absolutely right. So now this is going to be a neat reveal to be able to see what's going on there. And this is Search On. What time is that on Wednesday?
I think it's 10 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesday. Pretty sure.
Well, we certainly want to track down with you guys everything that you're doing on your conferences. We applaud you for everything that you've been rolling out here as of late, especially countering the absence of these live conferences. And I won't put you on the spot of when that could possibly be in the future, but we do look forward to seeing you guys in person again and being able to rub elbows with everybody that is out there and fighting the good fight and bringing good information to the masses on digital marketing. So thank you very much for what you've been doing in this space, sir.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's an honor to serve this industry. It feels like it's such a welcoming space, and we're only trying to do that more, especially with an initiative that's close to my heart. And I was hoping to be able to mention it here. We have the Search Engine Land Award for Diversity and Inclusion in search marketing, and this is the second annual award. It is free to nominate somebody, and I bet everybody in this industry knows somebody or knows an organization that has made a lot of headway in terms of what they're trying to do, maybe with their own organization or what they've done for the community, perhaps. A lot of promises were made last summer when George Floyd was murdered, and then earlier this year with hate crimes against Asians.
Right.
And some brands haven't forgotten their commitments. And so this is one way to honor that, but also it's, I like to think of it as a way to show prospective marketers, people who are entering the industry, that there is a place for them, no matter what they look like, and no matter how they think they're going to be viewed by others, that we are a community that stands for these kind of principles. And it's free. It's free to nominate someone, unlike, you know, all the other categories in the Search Engine Land Awards that cost money to nominate. This is one that we're just doing, and we hope to recognize somebody that's really standing out, that can really, we want to elevate them or their organization to a place where other people know them and they can either follow their example or cut their own way and make progress as well.
That's excellent. And that's a great place to be able to end up this show. So we lift up Search Engine Land regularly, but this is one of those important things that a brand knows that they would like to be able to connect with everybody that they represent in one way, shape, or form. So kudos to Third Door and Search Engine Land, and keep up the good fight, George. We certainly do appreciate everything that you're doing over there.
Yeah, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Well, fantastic. That's it for Edge this week. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get updated when we go live next. I think we're going to be doing a live one here in the near future. So from all of us over at Edge, stay safe, stay well, and do not be a busy cyber drifter. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.